Number 7, staffing roles and responsibilities. Another thing that would be very important for you to consider would be, should you bring on a professional employer organization? Wow, and I spelled that word wrong. Look at that, man. How bad is that? Golly, I was in a rush. I was like, man, there's a lot of stuff to cover today, you know? So anyways, there's a PEO versus a PSP. And these would be like, think of like your ADPs, your paychecks, you know, those types of companies. Like when you think about starting your own company here and you start bringing on employees, you're gonna have things to think about like you probably never had to think about before, like workers' compensation. Are you going to get a separate insurance policy? Or maybe you might be too small and you may not have any history. You might not be able to get workers' comp insurance, or it might be so incredibly expensive. You're like, oh my gosh, like how are we gonna do this? So at that point in time, you might go with a PEO, but you also might find that a PEO is gonna save you a lot of headache when it comes to the HR side of things. Because basically what a PEO does is, it's like I don't even know how to explain it, but essentially what happens is like you contract with this other company, all right? And then when you hire someone, technically that person or that individual is actually working for this other company, this PEO, right? And they're leasing you that employee. Now, the reality of it is like, they're still your employee. You're still responsible for their oversight, their daily roles, their responsibilities for, for having any sort of like, meetings with them or following all the proper like state regulations and things like that. But what's cool about it is now you're sharing the cost of workers' comp, and you're kind of sharing the cost of other things with this large pool of people where like for instance, myself, we use a company called Worksite Employee Leasing. And so we all work for Worksite. Now, like the reality of it is, yeah, everyone works for, Chelsea Place or ActivAge or whatever. But the reality is that at the end of the day, like all of our W-2, all of our paychecks and our pay stubs, they say Worksite on them. And Worksite is a PEO, and they have like, probably thousands of companies all over the country. And so we share in that pool. So if like something were to happen and there's a workman's comp claim or something like that, you're in this like shared pool of other people having workman's comp claims and things like that. And it kind of like reduces that liability, or kind of like, shares the cost of some of those incidences that might happen. So it is a great program. Plus they handle a lot of HR responsibility, such as like unemployment paperwork. And if you ever have a question, you can always call on them and they would answer all those questions for you. Whereas like a PSP or a payroll service provider, you might be working with the paychecks, but like, paychecks, or like, that company like ADP or Paychecks or some of these others, they, those individuals that work for you might work specifically for your company. Their paychecks might come from you, and the PSP is literally just handling the filing of all the taxes and the processing of the payroll. But at the end of the day, like all the responsibilities on you. If you get an unemployment claim, you got to figure it out. If you get a workman's comp claim, you got to manage that workman's comp claim. You got to work with the insurance company yourself and work with that employee. Whereas if you use a PEO, if you have a workman's comp claim, the PEO helps guide everyone through the process, and you're just kind of like, on the side, like listening and waiting for them to advise you on what to do next. But they kind of guide you through that whole process. Hope that makes sense. We did do a video on the differences between those that was a lot more in depth. We use Indeed and Facebook Jobs a lot. To this day, out of all the job boards, those two still seem to be the best when it comes to hiring people. The other thing that is unique about the adult daycare space is that it's not a 24/7 industry, so it does typically create a good working environment and a good working culture. And we're almost to the time. I think we're almost done, so we're doing good. Scheduling software, there's a ton of different scheduling software programs out there. We use a company called Connect Team. It's great because they have scheduling. They have, it's kind of like a mini like Facebook, so you can kind of provide updates and videos and content. It also has training on there. It also has some kind of like HR functionality. It's got a lot of great things. It's called Connect Team, but there is a ton of different scheduling softwares out there. But you definitely want to get something like that set up, so you can at least better manage like your clock in, your clock out. Options and things like that. So if you wanted just scheduling, there's softwares out there for that. If you wanted like a bigger suite of services, maybe look into like a Connect Team. Organizational chart. It's very important that when you're designing your adult daycare from the beginning and you're thinking about, okay, how big is my space? What roles do I need? You know, it's very important you start thinking about your organizational chart. Even if you can't afford all of those people at this time, you want to at least start thinking about it. Okay, what does that organizational chart look like? Is it, is there an admin? Is there an assistant admin? Am I going to be the admin? Is there a front desk person? Is there someone in the kitchen? Is there someone that's like, primarily responsible for the activities and someone responsible for the care? Are there like managerial roles, or are they more, kind of hourly roles? Are there salaries? There's all of this stuff. So you want to kind of think about all of the functionality you have to offer and start designing on a piece of paper, okay, there's this role, there's all these different roles. Do these roles have people underneath them, or are they kind of like their own bucket? And then once you have an idea of what all that looks like, now you can start going into each of those roles and be like, okay, transportation is responsible for this. This is the type of person that we're looking for. These are the type of hours that person would get per week. This is the pay range that person would earn. If it comes to your activities person, or your caregivers, or your kitchen, or same thing. What is their responsibility? What do they do every day? What does a day look like for them if the place was full? Again, what is the pay range? What are those things? So thinking about all that stuff in advance. Now, when you first start, you might have 3 people total, but you might have 10 or 15 or 20 roles, but each of those 3, each person might be doing 4, 5, or 6 different roles and sharing that responsibility in the beginning. And as you grow and you can hire more people, then you could delegate some of those roles to other people, or hire someone on to take over that role and start kind of relieving everyone of all of those roles. But you want to at least have an idea from the start, what should my center look like? Obviously you're going to go through, iterations, you're going to go through different changes, you're going to have things come up, and you're going to decide okay, we don't need that person anymore. Oh, I thought it'd be great to add that responsibility onto that role. But the reality of it is they're so bogged down by these other things, we should shift that responsibility over to this person. All that stuff's going to happen. But at least if you have a starting point that's clearly defined, it's going to make life so much easier for you when you're hiring someone. You're okay, we're hiring for this position, but the reality is you're going to be also doing these other roles, and it's going to give them clarity and give them direction and make things a lot easier. So